My name is Eleanor Patterson. I was 43 years old when I finally understood that the people who hurt your child the most don't always come from the outside. Sometimes they share your blood. I was 6 months away from believing I had my life under control. Until the night my father destroyed something I'd bled for, and in doing so, shattered the last illusion I had left about family. But before that night, before the sound of metal and glass exploding across my living room, there was love, there was sacrifice, there was hope. I'm a single mother. I didn't choose that path. It was forced on me 3 years ago when my husband Jack was killed in a construction accident. One moment he was texting me that he'd be home late. The next, a police officer was standing on my porch, hat in hand, eyes already full of pity. Our son Cameron was 13 then. There's no handbook for teaching a child how to grieve a parent while you're barely breathing yourself. I learned how to be everything at once: mother, father, provider, shield. I learned how to cry in the shower so Cameron wouldn't hear me. I learned how to stretch dollars until they screamed. I work as a dental hygienist in downtown Portland, Oregon. It's honest work, steady. But raising a teenage boy alone in this economy means every expense is a calculation, every indulgence a negotiation with guilt. Cameron is brilliant, quietly so. He taught himself coding before most kids knew what HTML meant. By 12, he'd built his first website. By 13, he was fixing neighbors' computers for free because he liked solving puzzles. His dream is to study computer science at Oregon State University. His old laptop, the one I bought 4 years earlier, was dying, freezing, crashing, taking 10 minutes just to boot up. I'd hear him sigh from his room late at night, frustration seeping through the walls as his assignment stalled. So I decided, for his 16th birthday, I would give him something that said, "I see you. I believe in you. I've got you." A MacBook Pro. It took 6 months. 6 months of skipped meals, extra shifts, wearing the same winter coat another year. I sold some of Jack's old tools from the garage, things I'd been holding on to because letting them go felt like losing him all over again. Every dollar hurt, but every dollar was worth it. I wrapped the MacBook carefully in silver paper with blue ribbons, Cameron's favorite colors, and hid it in my closet. Sometimes I'd take it out just to feel the weight of it, imagining his face when he opened it. I thought I was planning the perfect birthday. I didn't know I was setting a trap. Cameron's birthday fell on a Saturday in late September. That golden Oregon autumn where the air feels crisp and forgiving. I decorated the house, baked his favorite chocolate cake from scratch, and tried to ignore the knot forming in my stomach. By 6 o'clock, the house was full. My parents drove up from Eugene. My father arrived wearing his usual scowl, my mother fluttering behind him, already smoothing imaginary wrinkles from her cardigan. My older brother Warren came with his wife Natalie and their son Kelvin, also 16. Cameron's friends filled the living room with laughter. Neighbors dropped by. For a while, it felt normal. Too normal. Dad even smiled. That should have been my first warning. At 7:30, Cameron sat on the floor, surrounded by gifts. He opened them politely, thanking everyone. I watched him glance around, searching, waiting. "Mom?" he asked softly. "Did you get me something?" I smiled. "Of course." I went to my bedroom, heart pounding, and lifted the silver-wrapped box from my closet. As I walked back, I heard whispers. "That looks expensive." "She's been working a lot." Every eye turned toward me. Cameron's face lit up. And in that moment, before everything went wrong, I thought I had finally done something right. I was so wrong. Cameron reached for the silver-wrapped box with careful hands, the way he always did with things he valued. He didn't rip into it like most 16-year-olds would. Instead, he traced the edge of the paper with his fingertips, smiling up at me as if to say, "I know this mattered to you, Mom." That smile is burned into my memory. "Come on, man, just open it already," one of his friends joked, laughing. Cameron shook his head. "No, My mom worked too hard on this. My chest tightened. I knelt beside him, brushing his hair back the way I used to when he was small. Take your time, honey. He peeled back one corner of the paper. That was when Kelvin moved. It happened fast, too fast for anyone to stop. 1 second, my nephew was sitting cross-legged near his parents. The next, he lunged forward, snatching the box straight out of Cameron's hands. Let me help you, Kelvin said loudly, already tearing into the wrapping. Kelvin, wait! Cameron reached for it, panic flashing across his face. But Kelvin didn't wait. He ripped through the silver paper like it was trash. Blue ribbons snapped and fell to the floor. The careful folds I'd spent an hour perfecting were destroyed in seconds. Stop! I shouted, jumping to my feet. Too late. Kelvin tore the lid off the box. The MacBook Pro gleamed under the living room lights, space gray and flawless. For a split second, the room was silent. Then Kelvin's eyes went wide. No way, he yelled, pulling it out. He lifted it over his head like a trophy. This is sick. Dibs. The word echoed. Dibs. Cameron froze. I watched my son's face drain of color. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. His hands hovered in the air where the box had been, fingers curled like he was still holding it. And then my father laughed. Not awkwardly, not nervously. He laughed with pride. That's my boy, Dad said, clapping once. Quick hands. My mother rushed forward, eyes sparkling. Oh, Kelvin, you're so clever. What a prize. Warren and Natalie beamed like their son had just won an award instead of stolen a birthday gift. Something cold slid down my spine. Kelvin, I said, forcing my voice to stay level. That is Cameron's birthday present. Give it back. Now. Kelvin hugged the laptop to his chest and stepped backward toward his parents. Finders keepers. The smirk on his face told me everything. This wasn't impulsive. This was entitlement. Warren, I snapped, control your son. My brother lifted his hands like I was the unreasonable one. Eleanor, don't be dramatic. It's just a computer. You can buy Cameron something else. Something else? My voice cracked. That laptop cost me $2,000. Natalie stepped in, her smile tight and sugary. You're making a scene in front of the kids. Can't you just share? They're family. Share, I repeated. It's not a bag of chips. It's my son's birthday present. I turned to my parents, desperate. Mom, Dad, please. My father crossed his arms. Don't be selfish. Kelvin got to it first. That's not how birthdays work, I shouted. By now, Cameron's friends had stood up. They formed a loose wall around him without even realizing it. This is messed up, one of them said. Mr. Rodriguez, our neighbor, cleared his throat. I have to agree. That gift was clearly for Cameron. Murmurs of agreement spread. My father stepped forward, irritation hardening his face. Fine, I'll buy it from you. How much? I stared at him. You'll buy it? I'll give you $2,000. Cash. Right now. He pulled out his wallet. Kelvin keeps the laptop. You buy Cameron something else. The audacity took my breath away. It's Cameron's birthday, I said slowly. Today. Mom waved a dismissive hand. Warren and Natalie can't afford gifts like that. You should help. Something inside me snapped. Not explosively, but cleanly, like ice cracking. You want to buy it? I said quietly. Fine. $4,000. What? Warren barked. $4,000, I repeated. 2 laptops. One for Kelvin, one for Cameron. Equal, since we're family. Silence fell. My father's face darkened to a familiar shade of purple, the one that always came before violence. I'd seen it my whole life. You're extorting your own father, he hissed. I'm protecting my son, I shot back. Something you never do when it comes to Cameron. Mom gasped theatrically. How dare you speak to your father that way? How dare you, I said, voice rising. When Jack died, did you help Cameron? Did you check on him? No. But when Kelvin needed baseball gear, you wrote a check within an hour. Warren jumped in. That's not fair. Fair, I laughed bitterly. Last Christmas, Kelvin got a PlayStation 5. Cameron got a $20 gift card. Last year, you paid for Kelvin's amusement park party. Cameron got a card and an excuse. Heads were nodding now. Phones were out. My father's jaw worked back and forth. "You've always been ungrateful," he growled. "Cameron is your grandson," I said, "and you treat him like he's invisible." "Enough," Dad roared. He turned toward Kelvin. For one stupid, hopeful second, I thought he was going to take the laptop and give it back. Instead, he grabbed it with both hands and turned to face me. "You want to know what I think of your $4,000? He asked coldly. Before anyone could move, my father lifted the MacBook high above his head and slammed it down. The crack was deafening. Glass shattered, metal bent. Keys flew across the hardwood like shrapnel. Cameron made a sound I will never forget. A broken, choking sob. He collapsed inward, shoulders shaking, hands over his face. That was the moment something inside me hardened forever. For a few seconds after the MacBook hit the floor, no one spoke. The room felt frozen, like time itself had recoiled in shock. My father stood over the wreckage, chest heaving, fists clenched so tightly his knuckles were bone white. The laptop lay twisted and ruined at his feet, its once perfect screen a spiderweb of cracks, pieces of keyboard scattered across my living room like broken teeth. "That," he spat, "is what you get for being selfish." Cameron's sob cut through the silence. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was the kind of sound that comes from somewhere deep inside the chest, raw, wounded, uncontrollable. He folded forward, burying his face in his hands, shoulders shaking as if he were trying to make himself disappear. His friends moved instantly. They surrounded him without a word, hands on his back, one of them crouching beside him, whispering something I couldn't hear. Their eyes, when they looked at my father, were full of something fierce and unfiltered, hatred. I felt something inside me crystallize, not break. Crystallize. Every excuse I had ever made for my parents. Every time I'd swallowed my anger to keep the peace. Every moment I'd told myself, they don't mean it, or that's just how they are. It all hardened into a single, sharp truth. These people were not safe for my son. I walked toward my father slowly, deliberately. Each step felt steady, grounded, terrifyingly calm. When I stopped inches from him, I looked up into his face, the face that had scared me as a child, that had taught me silence was survival, and I felt nothing but clarity. "Get out of my house," I said. My mother sucked in a breath. "Eleanor." "Get out," I repeated. Dad sneered. "You don't get to talk to me like that." "I do," I said evenly. "In my house, after what you just did." Natalie clutched her purse, eyes wide. "You can't just throw family out. Watch me." I pulled my phone from my pocket, hands steady. "You have 2 minutes to leave before I call the police for destruction of property. This is my house. That laptop was mine, and there are 15 witnesses." Mr. Rodriguez stepped forward. "I'll testify. I saw everything." "So will I," Mrs. Rochelle added, her voice firm despite her shaking hands. That was deliberate. One of Cameron's friends held up his phone. "It's all on video, from when Kelvin grabbed it." My father's expression flickered, just for a second. Uncertainty. Fear. He looked around the room and realized something he never had before. He wasn't in control. "Let's go," he muttered, grabbing my mother's arm. "We don't need to stay where we're not wanted." They moved toward the door. Warren wouldn't meet my eyes. Natalie sniffed loudly, like the victim in a story she'd helped write. Kelvin shot me a smirk as he passed, smug even after everything. And that's when I remembered the truck. "Wait," I said. My father turned, suspicion flashing across his face. I walked past him and into the garage. The Chevrolet Silverado sat there quietly. The truck Jack had bought 6 months before he died. The truck I'd let my father borrow when his Ford finally gave out. Borrow. I took the keys from the hook and returned to the living room. "You're not leaving in my truck," I said calmly. Dad's face went pale. "What?" I dangled the keys between us. "It's registered in my name. Jack bought it. Borrowed means temporary. I'm taking it back." "You can't do that," he snapped. "I just did." My mother shrieked. "It's almost 9 at night." "Then you'd better start walking," I replied. "The bus stop's 6 blocks away." A slow clap echoed from behind me. Then another. Cameron's friends began applauding. The neighbors joined in. Even Mrs. Rochelle, usually so quiet, nodded approvingly. "Well done," she said. "Make them walk." My father's face cycled through rage, humiliation, and something like defeat. He grabbed my mother's arm and stormed out. Through the window, I watched them disappear down the sidewalk. For the first time in my life, I didn't chase after them. After the house emptied and the adrenaline drained, the silence felt heavy. I swept up the broken pieces of the MacBook, each shard another reminder of what had been taken. I found Cameron in his room, lying on his bed facing the wall. "Hey," I said softly, sitting beside him. "I need to run an errand. I'll be back in an hour." He nodded without turning. I drove straight to the Apple store at Pioneer Place. They were open. They had one left. I didn't have the money, so I opened a new credit card. When I got home, Cameron was sitting in the living room, eyes hollow. "Close your Mom, please. Trust me." He did. I placed the blue-wrapped box in his lap. "Open them." He did, and when he saw it, his breath caught. "Happy birthday," I whispered. "No one gets to ruin this for you." He broke then, really broke, throwing his arms around me, sobbing into my shoulder. Later that night, after he fell asleep, I sat at my computer, and I uploaded the video. The video finished uploading at 11:47 p.m. I remember the exact time because I stared at the screen longer than necessary, watching the progress bar disappear, waiting for that final confirmation message to appear. "Your post is now live." For a moment, my finger hovered over the mouse. I knew what I was about to do would change things permanently. There would be no pretending anymore. No polite holidays. No strained phone calls. No, "but they're still your parents," conversations, whispered by people who never paid the price of silence. But then I thought about Cameron's face when the MacBook shattered, and I clicked post. I didn't add commentary. I didn't need to. The video spoke for itself. Kelvin grabbing the gift, my parents laughing, my brother dismissing me, and finally, the moment my father lifted the laptop and destroyed it in front of a room full of witnesses. I closed the laptop and went to bed. Sleep didn't come easily. Every time I shut my eyes, I heard the crack again, saw Cameron fold in on himself, felt that familiar childhood fear creeping up my spine, the instinct to apologize for things that were never my fault. By morning, my phone was vibrating nonstop. Messages, notifications, missed calls. I ignored them long enough to make Cameron breakfast. He moved quietly, eyes swollen, but steadier than the night before. When he sat down at the table, his new MacBook rested beside him like something sacred. "Mom," he said carefully, "are we okay?" I kissed the top of his head. "We are." That was the truth. My phone buzzed again. This time I looked. The video had been shared over 300 times. Neighbors commented first. I was there. "This is exactly how it happened. I've never seen anything so cruel. You did the right thing, Eleanor." Then came people I barely knew, friends of friends, co-workers, old classmates. And then my family. My mother left a voicemail, voice shaking with outrage. "How could you humiliate us like this? Do you know what people are saying?" Warren texted. "You took it too far. Dad was angry. You didn't have to ruin him publicly." I stared at the screen, heart steady. Ruin him? No. I told the truth. At noon, my father finally called. I answered. "You need to take that video down," he said without greeting. "No," I replied. "You've made us look like monsters. You did that yourself." Silence, then softer, dangerously so. "We're your family, and Cameron is my son. You're overreacting." That was the moment I knew he hadn't learned a thing. "I'm done," I said. "Don't come back. Don't call. If you want contact with Cameron, it goes through me. And right now, that answer is no." "You'll regret this," he hissed. "I already regret not doing it sooner." I hung up. That afternoon, Warren showed up unannounced. I didn't let him in. He stood on my porch, hands shoved in his pockets, avoiding my eyes. "Dad's furious. Mom's a wreck." "Good," I said calmly. "You embarrassed Kelvin." I laughed, a short, humorless sound. Kelvin embarrassed himself. Warren shook his head. You always think you're right. No, I corrected. I think my son deserves better. He left without another word. That night, Cameron sat beside me on the couch, laptop open, fingers flying across the keyboard. What are you working on? I asked. He smiled faintly. A website. For what? For me, he said. And maybe for kids like me. I felt something loosen in my chest. For the first time in years, the house felt quiet, in a good way. But the story wasn't over yet. Because consequences don't always arrive loudly. Sometimes they come dressed as phone calls, legal notices, and a man who suddenly realizes his power is gone. 3 days after the video went viral, my father showed up at my work. Not my house. Not my phone. My work. I was in the middle of cleaning a patient's teeth when the receptionist knocked lightly on the door and leaned in. Eleanor, she whispered, eyes uneasy. There's a man asking for you. He says it's urgent. I knew before she finished the sentence. My hands didn't shake. That surprised me. 3 years ago, even hearing his voice could send me spiraling back into that familiar, obedient daughter role. But something had changed. I rinsed my hands, removed my gloves, and stepped into the lobby. My father stood there, rigid, arms crossed, jaw clenched. He looked smaller somehow, older. The confidence he used to wear like armor was cracked. You shouldn't be here, I said calmly. He scoffed. You humiliated this family. You humiliated Cameron, I replied. I protected him. People were staring now, patients pretending not to listen. My coworkers frozen mid-step. This is not the place, he growled. You made it the place when you came here. His voice dropped. Take the video down. People from church have called. Warren's boss saw it. Kelvin's coach asked questions. I tilted my head. Good. You're enjoying this. No, I said. I'm done tolerating it. He stared at me, searching for something. Fear, guilt, hesitation. He found none. You always were dramatic, he muttered. Your mother raised you soft. That was the last straw. I'm not soft, I said quietly. I'm finished. He stepped closer. Blood doesn't just disappear. It does when it's poisonous. He left after that, face red, shoulders tense. And for the first time, I didn't feel like a daughter losing her parents. I felt like a mother choosing her child. The weeks that followed were strange, quiet. No birthday cards, no Sunday guilt calls, no family group text filled with passive-aggressive Bible verses and thinly veiled accusations. Cameron changed too. He laughed more. Slept better. His shoulders didn't hunch when the phone rang anymore. One night, I found him sitting at the dining table with papers spread out around him. What's all this? I asked. He looked up, nervous but proud. College prep stuff, scholarships, financial aid. My throat tightened. You don't have to rush. I know, he said, but I want to be ready. I sat across from him. You shouldn't have had to see that, what my grandfather did. Cameron shrugged. I saw who stood up for me. That nearly broke me. A month later, a letter arrived from a lawyer. My father was demanding the return of the truck, or compensation for unlawful seizure. I laughed when I read it. The truck was still registered in my name, Jack's name. The paperwork was airtight. I forwarded it to my own attorney. 2 weeks later, the demand was withdrawn. No apology. Just silence. The real consequence came quietly. Kelvin stopped being invited to things. Parents didn't want him around. Coaches benched him. Kids whispered. Entitlement doesn't age well when the world is watching. Warren called once. I don't know how to fix this, he said. I do, I replied. Start by teaching your son accountability. He hung up. That was the last time we spoke. On Cameron's 17th birthday, it was just us, no grandparents. No forced smiles. We ordered pizza, watched dumb movies, laughed until midnight. At one point, he looked at me and said, I don't miss them. Neither did I. That night, after he went to bed, I opened my computer. Messages still came in sometimes, from strangers, from other parents. Thank you for standing up. I wish my mother had done that. Your son is lucky. I didn't feel brave. I felt clear. Family, I learned, isn't about blood. It's about protection. It's about who stands between your child and harm, no matter where that harm comes from. My father taught me fear. I taught my son boundaries. And if that means I lost my parents to save my child, then I made the right choice. Every single time.